everybody, Cheryl and Lady coming to you from the Ladies Garden and Home. Today we're going to give you a complete late spring garden tour. So I hope you join us. So I'm going to start with this bed. In my plan I call this bed A. No particular reason except it's right out to the right when I come down the stairs from the deck. I've planted in here quite a few things. We've got radishes along the front. We've got eggplant in these large tomato cages. They don't need support right now, but eventually they will when they get larger. I've planted pretty closely together a bunch of cucumbers, and well, I kind of just piled them on with the hope that they'll start to climb up this cattle panel that's over here. And here are the peas. They're doing quite well. We've got cilantro and some parsley. I've sown some carrots in here around the eggplant. They're just starting, if you can see. The leeks, which are suffering a little bit because Lady's been trampling on them. Now we come around to the left, dappled in the sunlight, is an Asiatic lily that's getting ready to bloom. And this year, she has some very adorable babies that look like they're going to bloom too. Moving around, these lavender have really turned into a hedge, especially since I did a lot of weeding in between them. They're filling out, and as you can see, they're starting to have lavender buds forming. Sometime in June, I'm looking forward to them blooming. We've got Swiss chard starting to bolt. The two that are bolting are the ones that overwintered. Then I have a couple that are going pretty strong. Those I started this spring. The onions I put in here. And then this is the patch that Lady kept digging up. And I keep trying to replant with carrots. And they're starting to come up. Then I've got some, this is a coneflower, and some garlic over here. And my garlic is really starting to yellow and turn over. And I'm wondering if it's getting ready for me to harvest. It's early, it seems like, but I did plant them in October. So I'm going to be picking one or two just to see what the bulbs are doing. And here we come to bed C. And this has a mixture of a bunch of things too. I have some things that I overwintered, like this broccoli. And this is actually a Romanesco broccoli. It has a very unique head. It's pretty cool. And it's huge, absolutely huge. And in this bed, I planted my slicing tomatoes that are going to grow up these posts. I have ox heart, Berkeley tie-dye, German striper. Here's the celery. This overwintered successfully. This was actually planted in April of 2021. These are onions that also overwintered. They're going to bloom soon. I actually cut back the celery to make room for the tomatoes. Here's another smaller broccoli plant, although it's pretty large, that also overwintered, and underneath this leaf is a very pretty broccoli head. Underneath these posts, I direct seeded some carrots, and to the side will be onions, hopefully. Leeks. They also overwintered, and I left them in instead of harvesting them to enjoy their flowers when they bloom. I've got nasturtium on the ends. And also on each end I have marigolds and borage. Now, in between the tomatoes on this side is dill that actually seeded itself. And then on the other side, I'm going to be transplanting some basil. Oh, and also in here I have some spinach. And over there in the shade over there is cabbage. And on this side here is a row of onions that I started from seed inside in February, and I planted them out in April. So here we are on the patio. That's my flag that fell down off of its post. So I kind of just stuck it in the middle of my umbrella table. But here in that blue pot, we've got zinnia. Here's a rose bush. You can see the little buds. It's a miniature rose bush. Here are the butterfly bushes in this pot. And in that pot is hibiscus. And I'm not sure if that's the way they grow with that coloring around their leaves. This is the first time I've planted them. So I hope they're all right. Here are some kind of geranium that has a scent that's supposed to deter mosquitoes. My mother got these for me and potted them up. So we'll see. I hope it works because mosquitoes sure do love me. Here's a beautiful fig tree that my best friend Suzanne sent to me just a few weeks ago. Likes its spot. Some pansies. These pansies also overwintered with no covering or anything. I was really surprised. My Aunt Lucille statue. Another miniature rose. Over here in this basket are artichokes, 2 artichoke plants. Cute little fairy statue my mom gave me. And in here are magnificent dahlias. I'm so pleased with the color and how healthy it's looking. Here's some spearmint. I've been picking some every night. Put in a little lemon ice water. There's a lot going on in this bed too. If you recall, Lady dug up this side of the bed about a month ago and got really, really sick. I don't know what she ate out of there. I don't want to know. But the peas survived. Broccoli. And these little guys growing in blocks are corn. And I planted them from seed right in amongst everything out, with the idea being that when the broccoli goes to seed, it's time to come out. I'll just pull them and everything else can grow. This is broccoli rabe. I've gotten very little rabe out of it, but lots of flowers, which are very pretty. And it's actually really nice to have some flowers in the garden this time of year to attract the pollinators. This is cabbage. These two cabbages are the only ones that survived Lady's rampage. More peas. That's a Seychelles bean. These are red noodle beans that are just sprouted. Some chamomile that's been there for about 2 years now. And the plan with this bed is to really turn it into a Three Sisters garden. I'll be planting in beans around the corn, and I'll also, after the broccoli comes out, be putting 2 of my squash plants, my winter squash plants. One is a butternut and one is a spaghetti squash. Here are the Brussels sprouts. As the little flower seeds are starting, I've been eating quite a lot of them, but now I've just started letting them go to flower. I'm going to be pulling these soon and putting in more potatoes for a second succession of potatoes. But here are the potatoes that I planted. Wow, it's only been about 2 weeks, maybe even less. I did a video on it, which I will also link. Here in these little containers that I have kind of as a wall for the rest of this bed are borage, calendula, and marigolds. And these marigolds are a dwarf variety. In the center here, probably don't need that much support for them, but I kind of thought that looked cool to be in the middle there, are some bush beans that are a dried variety. We've got cannellini beans, garbanzo beans, and over there are kidney beans. And these are all the peppers. Jalapeno, cherry peppers, banana peppers, and then along this line here are going to be my large sweet peppers. And here are the potatoes that I planted in that video. You can see they're really unearthing the dirt below them. It looks like it's dry, but it's a little dry. I could water these. But we just got a good amount of rain 2 days ago, so they're not that dried out. But as you can see, they're really pushing up through the earth. And as I explained in that video, once these get about 4 inches tall, I'm going to cover them completely with compost and let them grow through again. Because as these grow taller, they will send out tubers that will then become more potatoes. All right, and here is another tomato bed. I apologize for the light this time of day. I'll end up getting my shadow mostly, but we've got cauliflower on this side. that I think might start to head up soon, because this is a blanching variety of cauliflower, and the inner leaves are supposed to close over the flower when it starts to head up. And in here I planted all of my sauce tomatoes. We've got Cesar, we've got San Marzano, we've got a speckled paste variety. I planted in here marigolds, some more borage. In the middle here is chamomile. That's been growing here for, this is its 3rd year. And then here is broccoli. Oh, look at this head. More borage. Calendula I put in here too. And then here are my cherry tomatoes that are woefully overcrowded. I'm going to keep them nice and pruned and hope that they don't interfere with each other. And you see these in the middle just sprouting. I just planted these 2 weeks ago. I direct sowed them. Are my sugar baby watermelons, which is part of the Transcontinental Melon Challenge that I'm taking part in this year on who can grow the best melons. Anyway, I've never grown melons before, but I thought this would be fun, and I do enjoy watermelons. And in here, got some sunflowers popping up. I direct sowed them. This little corner bed here was just wasted space, and there were so many weeds just growing around here. I just thought I'd make a bed out of it. In this bed here, this was my garlic bed, and the same thing is happening as with the other garlic, which is the flopping over. Over here I've got some beets in here as well, and I did start a bunch from seed. I'm waiting for them to germinate. Some have. And also right here is a white pumpkin. This is from seeds that I saved from a white pumpkin that I got in upstate New York. I grew it last year, and it gave me 2 pumpkins that are still actually fresh and sitting on my counter, ready for me to make puree out of or something. I actually made a lot of dog biscuits. This is what I call my shade garden, because this is against the north side of the fence. And I brought my house plants out. This one's very happy outside. Don't know what kind it is, but I do love it. And then I've noticed that my chamomile seems to really like the shade. So I think what I'm going to do is pull up other spots where it's growing and put them in some of these pots. This is the Solomon seal. This is a peace lily that I had on top of the refrigerator. It's in a little bit of shock today because as I was watering it, it got some sun. It does not like sun very much, but it didn't get much, and it seems to be actually popping back. It looks better than it did before. More chamomile. This is another peace lily. More chamomile. And then in this bed, underneath this tree here, is where I'm going to be creating a brand new bed. And I think my plan was initially to make this all flowers. However, I still have a lot of squash to plant, and squash needs a lot of room. So what I'm thinking is that the squash would make a very nice ground cover to hopefully suppress some of the really tough weeds that I have in here. All right, here we are at the top of the deck, and this is the green stalk that I'm growing a whole bunch of leafy greens in. And I have to tell you, I am absolutely loving this. Anytime I want a salad, I pop out here and I pick some. I've got red leaf, I've got butter crunch, I've got romaine, I've got Swiss chard. I'm absolutely loving this. And the fact that it's so close to the kitchen, it's easy for me to remember to water, which I think was my biggest problem growing lettuce in the past. There's a pretty marigold. Some kale going to seed. So in the morning, I just come and dump about 2 gallons of water in the top here, and it keeps it nice and hydrated. My mother calls this a garden castle. I thought that was hilarious. We have the blueberry pot. It's starting to bulb up and become little blueberries. I can't wait. I am so excited. This is my strawberry bed. And this cart was actually a gift also from my friend Suzanne. Right after my aunt died, and she said make a memorial garden for her, so I did. This is strawberries next to blueberries here because my aunt's favorite dessert was berries and cream, and her favorite flower were these red geraniums. We got a bunch of buds here, but look at how exciting this is. We've got some strawberries ripening. Ooh, that one looks ready. Yeah, I'll pick that later. But we've got some ripening. We've got some tiny ones forming, and very exciting. I don't know what variety these strawberries are, but what I like about them is that they last year bloom throughout the whole summer into the fall. And even though they're not the biggest strawberries in the world, I got a lot of them. And here we have a paprika pepper, and there is my Mancini, the pepperoncini, who has 2 flowers. I am a little concerned about these leaves right here, and I'm hoping it was a heat issue for being in the mini greenhouse for so long, but it does have a bunch of flowers growing. This was my single seed challenge. His name is Mancini the pepperoncini, and I'm keeping him in a pot right on my deck so I can take very good care of him. A basil plant. This I pulled out of my garden last fall to let it overwinter inside. It did great, and it's still going to town. Actually, it's time for me to start harvesting some more to encourage new growth. This odd plant here is arugula that's bolted, but it's, I don't know, to me it's very, very intriguing. And then here's a mixture of flowers and herbs that I have in these containers. I really love these containers, and I love having my herbs right outside my kitchen door. In here are marigolds, some nasturtium, but then in these pots I have, this is basil, we've got thyme, we've got some oregano, we have lemon balm, dill, which is just starting to flower. I mean, it's huge. It must be about 3 feet. And then in here, I also have some parsley growing. Chives. More thyme. This is another variety. What was this called? It doesn't say. And rosemary. This bed is oregano. This oregano was here before I moved in, and it comes back every year. And then catnip on this side, which self-seeded here. So, I don't know if you can see that very well. sun's not cooperating today. Then I have more catnip here. And then behind the greenhouse, I really have to clean this out, but it's a bunch of thyme. And then the mini greenhouse is emptying out very nicely. Couple of things I still need to put in the ground. The squash I was telling you about, some zinnias, mostly flowers, and the basil, which I'm going to pop around in little empty spots throughout the garden. It's a great companion plant, and as far as I'm concerned, I can never have enough basil. So, but what to do with the greenhouse? I think what I'm going to do with the greenhouse is I'm going to take the cover off so that it doesn't sit in the weather all summer long, and I'm going to break it up and make some plant stands that I will have to batten down like I am here on a windy day with bungee cords. But I figure it'll make a plant stand that I can keep these guys in, and some other seedlings and things that I'm going to be starting this summer. Well, everybody, I hope you liked this tour. I enjoyed giving it. I will tell you that May was a very, very busy month in the garden, and a little bit backbreaking too. I tried to pace myself, but I would say in the last 2 weeks I overdid it, and I really kind of hurt myself. So I don't recommend doing so much at once. But I did plant up a lot. I think June I'm going to kind of slow down a little bit. There's not as much frantic planting that has to go on, and I think I'm going to just enjoy the random tasks of the garden, watching them closely, looking out for pests, making sure they're watered well, fertilizing occasionally when they need it, and keeping an eye out for when it's time to harvest. So I love that part of gardening very, very much. Anyway, today's Memorial Day in the United States, and it is a day where we stop and thank and say a prayer for all of the wonderful service members that gave the ultimate sacrifice fighting for this country. And it's also, in the United States, the unofficial start of summer. So this is the weekend where pools open, and in many places classes are out in schools, and the lifeguards are back at the beaches, and it's a wonderful, wonderful time of year to look forward to the summer. But I'm not letting go of spring yet. So I hope you enjoyed this beautiful day with me in the garden. I hope you enjoyed the garden tour. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. And I hope you subscribe so you can join us in the future. And from the Ladies Gardening Home, enjoy your gardening journey. Bye!